Welcome back to Alpine Garage Sports. We are covering the CU Bus football, and today we play Oregon State, and something crazy just happened. We're going to talk about it on this episode of Alpine Garage Sports. All right, so we talked yesterday about the fact that we have got to change something on this offense in order to get a win against Oregon State. The one thing we need to change is the fact that we need to establish a running game. We talked about that. Everybody in the comments, I think every single person in the comments agreed with that statement. And every analyst that's out there, whether it be a YouTube analyst or, a real sports analyst out there, says the same thing. I mean, you can't be a one-dimensional offense for too long before everyone figures it out and takes it away from you, which is what's happened. I mean, we started out on a high at TCU, and it seems like every single game since then we have been dropping. Our production got down to its very lowest at UCLA. And at this point, we got to make a huge change, and Coach Prime has done that. In the press conference last week, a reporter asked him right after the UCLA game, what's going on with Coach Lewis? And Coach pretty much basically at that point said, I'm not going to be trapped into that comment, and he's going to be looking at things going forward. Well, he made a huge change yesterday by elevating Pat Shurmur, who we all know going into the season was a very late addition to an analyst here at University of Colorado. He elevated him to co-offensive coordinator, it seems. This is a Buff Zone article specifically that I'm referring to, and came on the heels of Brett McMurphy's Action Network article talking about the fact that he had been elevated. So that's where the sources are on this, because it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot out there right now. But Pat Shurmur is going to be calling the plays for this Oregon State game, and Coach Lewis is going to be signaling them to Shurmur. So you have co-offensive coordinators for this. There's only 10 full-time assistants on a football team, which means if you elevate Shurmur, someone's got to go down. So first, before we talk about that, let's talk about what is Shurmur going to do for Oregon State that we haven't been able to do so far. So for those of you who don't know, Pat Shurmur's been in the NFL for about a quarter of a decade, and he's been a head coach several times. Most recently, he was the offensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. And I alluded to this in a video that I did when he first got hired at Colorado, but I didn't really talk about it a lot because Pat Shurmur, for Bronco fans, has some negative connotations just because he was fired with Fangio. Really, was it him? Was it Fangio? It really hadn't gotten a lot better since then. So really, I don't know if it's him or if it was just the fact that the Broncos are just terrible right now, with the exception of this last game, by the way. But maybe he wasn't the issue with the Denver Broncos. So I didn't really say much about it because he's been a head coach for a long time. Now, oddly enough, and I'm going to bring this up just for conversation, he was... his last two stints in college were 24 years ago as a coach, and he was an offensive line coach for both Michigan State and for Stanford. He was also an offensive line coach for the Eagles. So at this point, I'm not going to say anything more than that. I think you guys can probably start drawing dotted lines to things, and I don't want to speculate as to what coaching position he's going to fill for this game. I'm sure a lot's going to come out after this game. But what is this going to do for Colorado? Is this going to do anything for Colorado? We have been on such a slide that Oregon State seems like an insurmountable game to a lot of people. I personally feel like we can win this game. I talked about it yesterday in the video. If we establish the run, I think we can win this game. What is that going to take? Is that going to take a coaching change? I mean, is it really Coach Lewis that is calling a super heavy pass offense? Or are there more politics involved in Colorado football right now, and maybe his hands are tight? I don't know. I'm not breaking any news here, guys. I'm just trying to figure out why consistently in every single game we abandon the run. Every single game we abandon the run. And a running game, really, if you take the sacks out of it, the lost yards in the sacks, is not that bad. But if you don't establish it, it can't get better. And I think we all believe, too, that if we allow our offensive line to actually run block for a little while, I think that will alleviate a lot of the stress on Shurmur and that offensive line. And I also think that maybe we just use that as our strength and we let that line through a little bit and then hit the screen. Just kill him on the screen today. Just wham, 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 screen, 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 screen. Just absolutely burn that defensive line and pull those defensive backs up a little bit. That actually may give us some pretty big shots. If Shurmur-Lewis combo establishes a run game and also opens up the screens a little bit and also opens up the tight end play a little bit, because we know we're stellar at tight end when we use the tight end, we may have some of the best big pass plays that we have had since the TCU game in this game. I'm going to call it right now. So why would you elevate Shurmur? Why would you do that if you weren't completely changing the game plan? So here's what I'm going to say. Going into this game tonight, we are either going to establish the run and Shurmur's going to be the difference, or we're going to do the same thing we've done before and potentially lose this game by passing way too much and getting Shedeur sacked another 7 times like he was at UCLA. And then the elevation of Pat Shurmur will have been a joke at this point. So I have a feeling that's not going to happen. There's no way Coach Prime is going to do that. He is going to elevate Shurmur, and there's going to be a large change on offense. What is that large change going to be? Only time will tell. We will talk about it tomorrow. I'm actually going to be at the game tonight, and then when I get home at probably midnight or 1 o'clock, I'm going to do a video at that point, and I'm going to publish it at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning talking about this. We will see you today on campus. We're going to be showing you the Buff Walk. We're going to be giving you a lot of live footage. So stay tuned today, and we will see you soon. And if you haven't already heard, Pat Shurmur may help us turn around our offense.